Welcome again to another installment of First Step, where we have industry leaders, professionals in their field, give their insight, their first steps to what it took for them to get to where they are today. And with us, we have a special guest. This would be our first guest outside the realm of what some may say entertainment. And a special guest in my regard because of the role that she plays in molding many young lives. With us, we have today entrepreneur, principal, educator, Marvel character collector, Miss Kezia Reece. She is the founder, owner, and principal of the Athenian Pre Secondary School in St. Augustine. No coincidence, my kids actually go there. And Miss Reece graced us with took the time to share with us this morning her steps. So I want to extend first my gratitude for you taking this time, Miss Reece, this morning to share with us. So, Miss Reece, I want to start off by asking a question. The school has been established, actually the same year my business established in 2006. And I want to get an idea of where Miss Kezia Reece was in 2005 prior to launching the school, where your mind was, and what were the circumstances that would have come together to take you to opening the school, making that big step.
Pleasant good morning. And firstly, I must thank you for the honor of allowing me this presence. 2005. In 2005, I was a teacher at another private school, Windsor. Windsor was at that time 24 years old. And I was just enjoying teaching. I knew that teaching was what I was meant to do. My grandmother had told my mother actually when I was only 2 or 3 years old that I would be a teacher. Mm-hmm. I don't know how she determined that, but here I am. So in 2005, the mindset of actually owning a school wasn't something that was prominent in my mental space at all. I was just enjoying teaching, coming up with new ways and new ideas. Of course, I was very unorthodox, considered 2005. So I was considered very radical and liberal and unorthodox. And I think that is because I taught in the United States, downtown Brooklyn, prior. So coming home, I just felt we needed to shake things up a bit and roll on the ground with the children and make chow and sing loudly, although I can't sing at all, and see what happens.
Right.
I was going through, I must admit, some sort of crossroads, signing up for the JET program, which is teaching English in Japan. And I would have gone, whilst in my undergrad, to Curacao to do part of my linguistic program and study the Papiamento, which is the Creole in Curacao, and got an offer to teach at Sky, which is a school that in Curacao at the time that advocated for the teaching of the Creole. If we know anything about Curacao, we know that their formal language is Dutch.
Right.
And Dr. Martinez at that time advocated, along with other linguists in our own, Dr. Robertson and Dr. Devonish from Jamaica, who advocated for using Creole in our schools. Right. And believed that if we use the Creole, the children will be more receptive in their native language rather than force the acrolect or the formal languages. Okay. So I was very excited about those things. And, the opportunities kept coming and so on. Right? In 2006, when the owners of Windsor at that time, decided that they were tired and they had enough. They wanted to retire. They asked me to take over Windsor, but for some, I said no.
What
Um,
what made it? What do you think contributed to them approaching you to take over this school? Is it a
um,
relationship or they just saw some?
because like I said, I was quite radical and liberal, and they were very old English, if you know what I mean,
Okay, cool.
traditional. But when I went to the school, the kindergarten only had 15 children. And after my first term with them, the kindergarten moved to 30. It doubled.
Right.
And then, of course, as time rolled on, they went straight to 53, with me heading that department and probably just taking over things. There was a period where the missus of that institution, she had a medical emergency and she had to go England for some time, and they gave me the role of her role to see how it goes. I guess I didn't know I was being tested.
Wow.
And the school's number, the amount of children in the school moved from 126, I think, at the time, to when she returned to 175. So
So you're doing
yeah,
something right in her absence.
I think I broke many of their rules. And I actually forced them out of their comfort zone quite a bit.
Wow, that's interesting. So now you moving on to them approaching you to take over the school.
When they asked me to take over, I said no, because at that time my mother was like, it's time for you to actually accept a position in the public system. One, and because I am a registered teacher too, etc. And stop with this private school thing.
Right.
Because she was all about security. If you get in the public system, you're sure you.
Right.
And then I was, the JET program, and maybe it's time for me to. I saw that as perhaps a sign that instead of putting those things on a back burner, perhaps pursue it at that time. I mean,
Right.
still youngish at that time, so why not? So I said no. But the parents approached me and asked me, please, if I could just hold on to the smaller children for one term,
Right.
and allow them to graduate. And then, with the Dr. and Mrs. Whiting's permission at that time, I said I would hold on, but not under Windsor.
Okay.
I would hold on because Windsor was closed, officially done. Right. So I would hold on under Athena's. So the original name of the school before it became the Athenian, it was simply Athena's Pre-Primary.
And why the choice of Athena's?
The goddess. I mean, I can't help it. The goddess of war and of wisdom, warrior and wise strategist.
Right, which I guess speaks a bit to your personality. I'm assuming.
So she was a conqueror. I decided Athena's Pre-Primary. Again, even at that time.
Then it was Athena's Pre-Primary.
It was.
Okay.
I had no intention of being, first of all, a primary school, so hence pre-primary, kindergarten. That step before. And no intention of seeing anyone after those children.
Right.
I just, okay, they let them graduate and go to their various primary schools. I even told the parents, don't forget to keep looking for primary schools. And I called a couple principals, and you have space in your first year and so on, and they well, yes, but you don't want to try them in our first year.
Wow. They start chaining you bit by bit.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, my mother was so afraid, because being quite youngish at that time, and entering into a viper's nest, I think. Not being orthodox, not fitting the mold. She didn't think it was worth the risk to go up against. As a matter of fact, one of the principals who is quite established, she's a veteran. Even now, she would have made the comment, you studying that child over there? She's playing at having a school. I remember her words vividly.
She told us to who, your mother?
No. She told someone I interviewed who parents were checking around for schools at that time. And when it became clear that, okay, this is perhaps the direction that destiny had for me, I decided, okay, well, best I start meeting people,
Right.
And one parent came and, why should I bring my child here? What are you selling? I said, I'm not selling anything. I don't know if I'm selling anything. I made up my mind very early that not if I am going that way, I will not be coerced into compromise because I am new.
Right. So compromise in your aspect would be what? Going away from what you set for yourself?
Yes, the convictions I stood for and the tenets. If I were to enter the private school realm, I will not enter fitting anybody's mold, but I will shape my own. So when they came, a couple of people, that parent in particular, it was like, are they doing me a favor? And so that comment,
I got you.
We were interviewed over there and they said, you're playing at a school and so on. I said, I don't know if I'm playing or selling, actually, but why are you here?
Right.
So very early, I think I earned the reputation of being hardball.
Yeah, well, I mean, but so you started off at Athena's pre-primary.
Yes.
And then with the encouragement of the parents.
Yes.
Right. How many, if you recall, how many kids roughly you would have started off with in the
25.
25.
Yes.
And this is at the current location?
No, I started off, I rented the Windsor's property at that time on Austin Street.
Right, okay.
But I knew eventually if I am going forward, I would need to get my own because of, history of the property. If I really needed, I think, to separate from Windsor.
Right, I got you. So
the property was associated with one name.
And you needed
if I were to establish my own,
a distinction.
I needed, yes, a very clear distinction.
Okay. So now you decided to venture into actual primary education along with the kindergarten. And what adjustments you think were needed then from you having all this experience in in early childhood education to adjust to now primary, which is so competitive, I guess, on a private school aspect, and then preparing for SC, common entrance or SC. I don't know which one it had at that time.
It was SCA.
SCA, right?
Yeah.
So how was that transition now for you?
I wouldn't say it was so much a difficult transition because although my heart was always and continues to be all about the babies.
Right.
I think they are the most exciting to teach the lower school, the smaller children. It wasn't so much that I wasn't aware, cognizant of the pedagogy necessary and, of course, the content. I remain steadfast. My formula, I think, is simply meet the children, and then decide. Because the content is the content. You know what you have.
Explain what you say by meet the children. Is it meet them where they are at, or
meet them where they are at? I will probably say right now, who taught me how to teach would be the children. There's no institution that could teach you how to teach. None. I may be blasted for this later on, perhaps. Institutions teach you theory.
Right.
They teach you who said what, and they qualify you to say that you have this piece of paper saying you know your stuff. but who really teaches you how to teach as an educator, any real educator. Again, this is my opinion. It may not be something that there's a consensus on,
Right.
but I do believe that the children taught me how to teach.
Wow.
So I am always grateful for that.
Right. So,
And as an educator, I learned from them. They didn't teach me the content, of course, but they taught me how to teach it to them.
wow. So you know, moving in from, I guess your a few of your kindergartens would have moved up into the primary.
Most,
Most of
most.
them. Right.
I think at that time only about 4 said, they got places, and so whilst they were sad, of course,
Right.
having that level of uncertainty, which I didn't hold against them at all,
Yeah, it's understandable.
right? Because strange enough, those children came back years later to do FCA with me. So although they didn't continue the journey at that time,
Right.
when they realized, okay, well, Miss Reece really serious,
And she
they came
grabbed it,
back.
yeah.
They came back like, so you're taking us again, please. So they finished off with me.
Good.
Yeah. So meeting the children would be meeting them where they are at, understanding their personalities. Each group is so very different, and the way they learn. And then taking it from there. Okay, I want you to learn this, but how? How do you learn it? What would be the most feasible way? And I continue to operate like that.
Yeah. One of the things I found, in if I could give you a little history of my experience with the kids at the school, one of the things, the first thing that attracted me to the school was on my day of the interview. I came and I saw children running around and playing pitch and climbing trees, and I found in modern times we moved so much away from traditional things that worked for us, and our kids are deprived of some things that I think help strengthen us. So when I came into the school, and you all will interview, Miss Lawrence interviewed me at that time. And I saw the children running around. I said, yes. So for me, one time I knew this was the place. And then I didn't even know the foundation in terms of what you all were at with educating the children, but just the environment and the energy of the space. And as a vibes man, it
So am I. I'm a vibes woman.
yeah, I knew that this was right. But how then were you able to create this unique approach to educating, this holistic type of energy, or this holistic approach? Is it you just figure, what, forget everything else, I do my own thing, or you felt that this was the right way to go?
It is a mixture. I think a combination of, ignore everyone. Because if I want to be an educator and make a change, because it's all about change. I believe in evolution. Don't stick one, in a mold, in a rut,
Right.
but test the boundaries, and don't, just settle for what you meet, but augment, and of course, believing that let me just, before I continue, I am from the country. I'm a country girl for
Right.
all purposes.
Right.
Perhaps not the real hardcore, but we grew up in the country. And
And this is Grandy.
Sangre Grande, Vega de Repuch to be exact, quite quiet. And so for me, it was really important that yard, space, running, playing. Play is important. It is through play children learn how to problem solve, how to communicate. It is through play they develop personalities. You see the leaders. You see who timid, who will be perhaps a follower, who would just need to be stretched a bit more simply by watching them play.
Right.
They most of the children, they live in apartments and concrete villages, concrete communities. So I decided, even if the building this small, if the yard this big, we go in.
Right.
So when I looked for a place to bring the school to, that is what I cared about, the yard.
And how did you
You,
find this school? How did you find this place?
it's funny driving around, first of all. As everyone else, you're looking for a property, you drive around. But when I saw this property, I decided this is the place. And I parked there for several months.
You parked?
Parked in front of the property because it was abandoned.
Right.
No one wanted to offer any, who is it, who owns it. And I was like, somebody must show up. A property like this, somebody must show up.
Wow.
So I, for several months, I think 2 to 3 months, 2.5 months straight, every evening I would just go park in front of the place and hope somebody would show up. And at that time, there was a security company right next door. And I think the gentleman got tired of seeing me pull up. And he came out because, people were like, nobody could get there, nobody gets there. Plenty of people does inquire. They're not giving up that place. Other than, all the negatives, of course. This is who we are in our society. Deterrent. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And eventually this gentleman, he got tired and he's like, you know what, I don't know if this number still works.
Right.
But there, a couple of years ago, I got to train my dogs there, and this is the number I have. You can call and see. Cool. I said, thank you. And I did, right away. And then the gentleman gave me a real runaround. Yes, I'll meet you Saturday morning for 9. Showed up Saturday morning for 9. He didn't show up. I'll meet you. Are you free tomorrow? And I went through that for a couple of weeks. And every time he said he would meet me, I went.
Right.
And when he met me the first time, he was like, let me tell you straight, real people interested in this piece. I'm not going to do a thing here, and so on and so on. I say, well, I wanted to put my school here. He watched me say, how old are you? So I said, infinity and beyond. I don't think that is relevant to our purpose here today. Mm. He said, no, it's just,
Yeah, you want to start at school.
You're not looking it.
Right.
He said, all right, here's the key. Go ahead. And that was it.
So he gave you the key. So what? Mm-hmm. Go and check the place out. He just gave you the key to.
No, he walked me through.
Right.
For me to see what the place offered.
Right.
Through the bush and the collapsing building and the heaps of garbage that people started to sneak in and dump and so on. Wow. And all I was seeing is space to play. Wow. The possibility of, I always wanted the idea of a house. Home. School should be the home aesthetic where I would put curtains and so on and so on. And even today, I still have curtains up and colorful classrooms and that house feel. The kitchen and so on. And I was like, oh, this could be this could be. And I was only seeing what it could be. Right. So I actually didn't even notice so much the collapse of the place. Mm-hmm. The ruin, but only what it could become. And even when I took my two teachers, my few teachers at that time to see you have to be mad. Are you sure?
But you saw it, right?
I saw. I went with my swiper, mm-hmm. and I started to beat the bush, literally beat the bush because I can't chop at all. Can't swipe.
Wow, that's...
And...
go ahead.
That is how it became what it is. And, we moved on to doing, of course, the legal stuff and the property becoming mine and eventually where we are now, right. Which, of course, yeah. Right? So that was the journey after several trucks and having no experience with construction. One parent at that time, a couple, I have to mention their names, Mr. and Mrs. Borneo. Mm-hmm. They saw that even though they believed in me as an educator, that I was out of my league.
Right.
And my depth with construction. And they became concerned that people would rob me. And I didn't know A to Z with that.
Right.
And so they said, Ms. Reece, let us, if you don't mind, could we take over this project and help you out? It will be what you want.
Right.
But let us bring a crew and let us take it from there with you because we don't want you to bounce your head.
Wow, that's amazing.
And sometimes you also have to know, okay, you know what? They know more than me. Right. I really don't know it.
Right, I got you.
And I step back and I simply, they ask me to sketch what I want. And that's it. I painted, I mixed cement. I could well mix cement, eh?
Wow.
At what
You better than me.
barrows and barrows of sand. Because I was there every day with my work clothes. Um, rake, help cut branches, help trim trees,
The wood.
drag stuff to trucks. I was there for each step.
I mean, that's how you are as a person in terms of my observance of you, how you operate. Very hands-on with everything. I want to go back a little bit in you basically sitting and stalking the place until you
Yeah.
get it. How much of is it that you have always been that resilient and persistent in getting what it is you want, or you just knew in your heart that this was it and I have to commit to this particular thing?
I think, admittedly, yes, I am more or less, that is what I want. That is my goal. And yeah, I hardly see obstacles. So when I want something, I got that from my mother, right? Kezia Reece Marshall, who is no longer with us. I got that from my mother. My mother always believed, go after what you want, right? Take no prisoners. So being brought up like that,
Right.
Brief story here. My mother, went to the United States of America in the 80s when we had a depression. There was a recession at that time. And we did have a mini mart and so on. And she said, you know what, she'll have to take that trek like everyone else at that time and go and see what America was offering.
Right.
And she started, her first job was a McDonald's downtown Fordham Road in the Bronx, for anyone who knows that area. And she took it from there. Eventually paid off all debts, built our home, graduated summa cum laude, computer science. I think she taught many people.
She taught my wife actually.
Well, good luck at that. And moved on to do her master's and was stepping into PhD when she was gone, taken from us. And so that idea of giving up and not going, if this is what you want, then you need to lock off the noises and just go. So I did that.
Right.
It's part of who I am.
So for you sitting outside a property that you had in your mind that this is the perfect spot religiously for 2.5 months was a non-issue. That was like no stress.
No, because I figured it is owned by someone and the person must show up.
Right. I mean, and there you go. And a lot of times we find in our journey, we get daunted by obstacles and you say, oh gosh, boy, well, nobody in there, maybe this isn't working out, this is not thing, and I'm going to move on. And we tend to get swayed, by the hurdles. Moving forward now, with the school from starting off with 25 kids, I believe, in kindergarten.
And then 21 when I started the primary. In first year, 21, and one or two big children, actually, who knew me, who I taught and interacted with at Windsor, came back and they asked, so you officially have a primary school, Miss Reece? I said, well, only a first year. And would you consider teaching our children? I said, but I don't have a class for these children.
Right.
They said, but it doesn't matter, even if it's two of them and whatever, it could mix up. So then I had one class with 2 for standard 2, 3 for standard 4.
Right.
So the class had 15 children with different ranges, belonging to different ranges. And I had my teacher there and we worked together and we taught them, and I taught kindergarten still. I held on to the kindergarten. Then I had my first year teacher, Miss Lawrence, at the time. And we continued, and my first 3 boys, my first stab at SCA, we got Trinity boys and Holy Cross and so on. And it was so strange because I wasn't registered yet. You have to go through the protocol of being registered. So I had to take my 3 boys at that time. to another location. When you don't have a registered school, you take them to sit as private candidates.
Okay.
And, I stayed and I waited in my vehicle until they were done with their parents and so on. And of course, once the school was established as a primary school, I went through the process of becoming registered. And the process was not difficult for me, actually. Every minute.
How long? Because I know these things could be a little time consuming and running through a lot of red tape. But how in terms of you seeing it from start to finish, I'm sure it probably would have had 1 or 2 days of frustration, but you said it wasn't
Of
that difficult.
course. Of course.
How long did it take, and what kept you resolved to say, well, this is necessary and I'm going through with it?
The children. It took 2 years for me to register properly.
Okay.
Because remember, from 2006, I didn't have any intention of doing that.
Primary, right? Yeah.
Yeah, or even having a school. So when it was clear that is what was destined, from late 2007 into mid 2008, building was ready, children were in it, and school registered. That was that. Every person, that ministry representative that visited the community at that time, gave their seal of approval immediately.
Okay.
They did not have any apprehensions.
Okay.
And of course, after they got over the initial shock of my, I guess, you sure? That
yeah, you started
a constant reaction.
Right.
Like, I'm here to see Miss Reece, and then I come out, in my sweats or my pajamas, whatever I felt to wear on that day.
Yes.
Those who know me know I hardly, I'm not really into the suits and the, what I call the tuk-tuk shoes.
Right. Yeah,
I'm very much about wearing.
Be like for parents, the formal occasions, yeah.
Yes,
Otherwise,
and so when I shock everyone.
Yes.
But on a regular day, I feel very comfortable in my t-shirts and my socks and slippers, and because you can't really enjoy being in school with children and roll in the yard and play and climb a tree or even pitch if you're very concerned about your outfit.
Very true.
Right?
Very true.
And again, it is really about the experience, not so much what adults think, because no adults attend school by me,
Very true.
Only the children attend school. So
I want to find out something. Just sorry to cut you, but
that's okay.
In terms of you said something which I battle with a lot, right? Like destined, and watching how things naturally unfolded itself, because you had initial plans to do the JET program in Japan, or just go into the public sector and teach.
Yeah, I had my interview and everything. Yeah.
Right. But it just happened that these things started falling into place. Is it that you had, as you indicated, no prior plan of opening a school?
No.
So how then, and you have since committed almost 14 years going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, how much of you just believing that this is the course and running with it, in terms of it just being a natural situation, or you decided, what, this might be a good business move, I like teaching the children, let me try this angle and start a business?
I hardly look at the school as a business, first of all. And I even joke about it, but seriously, I tell parents, if you have to do a business, never open a school. Because you won't make any money. If you are me, of course, we have more astute private school owners who profit.
Yes.
But for me, the school is not a business. It's first and always foremost a place of learning.
Wow.
my main goal, of course, it being the owner, is to always make sure I pay my bills. I'm very big on paying bills and paying my staff.
Right.
So, in terms of the business aspect, those are the most important parts for me, right? That I can pay my bills and I don't, I don't owe anyone, and my teachers are well taken care of as far as I can afford,
Right.
right? The journey did have several obstacles because even though I did business and accounts as a side thing and so on, and I did study and lecture at one point political economics. I mean, that's theory, yeah. In practicum, I'm horrible. Like anyone needs help or anything, okay, come, or the children need it, I can't bear it. They need to get this and they need to get that, and I buying it.
Right.
So I had to give up that particular element into a faction of the running of the school, and not handle the finances at all. I don't deal with the finances of the institution at all. I have a manager now and an accountant,
Right.
so that I can focus on the children and the education and enjoying that part.
Yeah.
Again, you have to know what's your forte.
Yes, it's true
You
because
have to know, okay, you know what, this will not work for me. I'm not good at this. I'm going to ruin the whole thing if
right.
I continue. So
And,
I focus on education
and the children,
and the children, and
the people.
try my best with that. Even with the adults as parents, something I say in the interviews, and I make no apologies for it, and I say it in the interviews, and it shocks everyone, right? That I may not like you every day, and I'm sure you won't like me most times, right? I can't say I'm sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever apologize for that, because I mean, none of you come into school here, but your job is, of course, to pay my fees and buy everything when I say to buy it. But really, I can't make the experience about the parent. I always have to make the experience about the children, right? You asked me a question earlier. What caused me to take that angle with the playing in the yard and the pitch and
Yes.
so on. And I was very adamant that many of our children, I think, today are being robbed of the real growing up. Children have, we have this amount of years to be children and so much more to be horrible teenagers and adults. And I always believe, let them be children now.
Yeah.
We have our experiences already. We know what it is to fall and get up. Why rob them of the same experience so that they know, okay, when I fall, I do get up. I can. I
Exactly.
don't stay on the ground and ball down the place, but I can get up and somebody will be there to help me when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
Why not let them play and sweat? Why bother with sweat?
Yeah.
I tell the trainer, hey, take off that shirt if it's stressing you out, because no sweaty backs. The teachers, Miss Reece, no sweaty backs. So, okay, no sweaty backs. But
Right.
the way to get over that hurdle here is take your shirt off, hang it, and play until you pass out, and then wipe off and put on your shoe
And come exactly.
and come
Right.
to class.
Right.
So if rather than focus on the red tape that we as adults put in their place, in their way, I don't look at the red tape. I think if we focus a lot on the red tape and you could fall there, or this could break, or whatever,
Yes.
that's why.
And
Because
and a lot,
we so hung up on the adult experience.
yeah, and I think a lot of times you find people choosing, for instance, I had no intention. I had if somebody were to tell me prior to having my children that my children would end up going to a private school, I'd say, you mad or what? That is soft thing. One of the first things I actually said in the interview with Miss Lawrence then was, I don't want my child coming out with no accent,
Oh
Right?
God, that accent thing has killed
Right?
me.
Because that's what I thought private schools would have been.
I know, I know.
And I don't speak necessarily like that. I mean, based on the podcast and all that, you could tell. But what as well, a lot of people would look at the prestige of the child coming out of these things. Most of the time, you figure, well, yeah, they're going to these prestige schools after, and that would be the main focus. how much of how great an importance is it for you now to see these children attend these prestige, quote unquote, prestige schools?
Yeah, I like that you say quote unquote. I still believe an institution that is meant to provide education should simply do so.
Straight.
Right? The whole hierarchy, the hierarchy we operate within, we have the prestigious, and then you have the middle tier, and then of course you have the laggards, the low performing and schools. It's sad. It saddens me all the time.
Right.
But of course, coming out of our colonial heritage and the way secondary schooling evolved or germinated in Trinidad and Tobago, we know we can't get away from it.
Definitely.
So because yes, I want my children to get into the prestigious, and they do, which you know.
Yes.
That is not my main focus, because I figure if I have taught them well enough, anywhere they go, they would learn, because they understand the value of education and where it could take them. And once there's a teacher there, and you have your books here, and your mind operates within a metacognitive space, which is what I push them to, then you would learn. So we plant that seed first. Yes, you want this school in your heart, and your parents want this school, and the whole universe. Oh my God! If you don't get Jersey or Hillview or Sags or whatever, life would end. But we tell them no, life wouldn't end, because wherever you go, once education is being provided, you would learn if you want it. I am a product of the public school system. Yeah, Sangre Grande SDA. I must say thank you to my teachers. I went to Sangre Grande SDA, which was considered the low school at the time. we weren't originally from Grande, so my mother just went.
And say, "Let's go in a school."
Yeah, let's go in a school. Yeah. And from there, I went to Northeastern College. Still have my Northeastern ring, and I sing my song, One Northeastern Intention. That's my school. For 7 years. I'm a product of the public system. Right? So coming out of the public system, I learned quite a bit, and I appreciated the way my teachers dealt with me. And yes, I am private, but I will not disregard what the public system offered. And of course, I fused some of it into my own school. Why not? Because when they leave, are they not going to meet all different sorts of personalities and ways of operation? And if I have them, yes, I have them in a sort of a bubble.
Yes. that has always been my biggest I always love to see the past students and how they dealing with secondary life, coming out of this controlled, well manicured,
safe, tailored, manicured environment,
which is
but of course we do teach them how to survive, how to, and again it goes back to problem solving. It goes back to developing a little tough skin. You get a criticism, you get a buff. I mean, I could give a good buff. But, dude, shake it off. I tell him he's up, shake it off. Let's go again.
That's it.
Right? Yes, we would intervene because, we have a zero tolerance for bullying policies. Zero tolerance. And children will have their disagreements. However, we intervene when we feel you have crossed the line, to give them a chance to solve their disagreements and their arguments, right, amongst themselves. Because when you get out of the yellow gate, and I tell them, the real world is waiting. It's waiting.
Very much so.
We do allow them to take part in a lot of competitions and activities outside of the yellow gate, so that they interact with other people and interact outside of their safe space.
Yes.
Their comfort space.
Yeah.
And see how they solve. For example, we would take them when we go on field trips. I will allow the bigger ones, give them the money and say, go and order that. Go and get this. Stand in the line and let me see how you handle it. Don't let anybody pass you. If you notice everybody saying, hey, I want this, jump in, let's get this. I want this too, shout in the line.
Right.
Now, we would have taught them, line up and wait your turn.
Yes.
But is this the real world all the time? You go and stand up and line up and wait your turn
You
and
can
see if
get
you
in
will get a
last.
turn. Sometimes you need to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to struggle. So we do not, it is sometimes tedious to maintain that delicate balance because you want to save them from so much and keep them from so much.
Mm-hmm.
But then we are robbing them. So it's always knowing when to give and take, give and take. Let them take charge sometimes.
Yeah.
You
And,
know,
mhm. I,
go
I
ahead.
um I like the well, even yesterday you had now making the adjustment into this COVID situation, and you
Uh-huh.
know having to move the school to an online platform, which I must commend you on. You have done a very excellent job in the transition. So where a lot of kids still struggling, and there's like they have an extended August holiday, school and work still goes on. But yesterday, my son too would have had his cooking class, cooking with I call it cooking with Kezia because I happened to be in his space because I had to kind of supervise as well.
Yes.
You know, um, so keeping the learning. I guess you choosing to keep learning very dynamic and organic, I suppose. Is that what you one of the things you would have learned in being abroad in education in Brooklyn, or is it something that you just had within yourself?
Actually, in the when I did my recent masters, the curriculum ed in curriculum, a lot of focus on new age learning, 21st century learning, you know, the 6 C's, communication, critical thinking, comprehension, and all of that. Um, and understanding Bloom's theory. Of course, I sometimes say theory, all the isms and ologies. But looking at it in practicum, the way other schools outside of Trinidad and Tobago, for example, when I visited Alaska, I learned that a big part of their learning experience is the outdoor classroom. The outdoor classroom. We are still very much within this, operating within these walls.
Yes.
The classroom is you have your walls, your desk, and and the teach children facing that way, and the teacher stand up in front, you know, um, and you realize, and then what? Will that always work? Is that always necessary? So in my institution, I in our community, I advocate and push my teachers, and they practice the outdoor classroom in some ways. Class doesn't have to be inside all the time.
Yes.
Learning, once you are being taught and learning is available, then learn. Whether be it under the tree on a mat, be it in front of a machine,
Be it in the
learn.
kitchen.
In a kitchen, let's go. Because
Yeah.
all that is learning. Learning doesn't only depend on us writing notes and a textbook. I will teach an entire class, which you know, and I haven't given an official note. But I teach the children how to take what is necessary from the lesson taught, how to make their own notes and translate in a way you understand.
Yeah.
And again, making the transition online, of course, getting used to technology and so on and so on. Was had its little teething
Yeah,
issues,
yeah, yeah. Which is
you know.
expected.
But again, is bearing in mind that remaining, I think, firm to the convictions and what I believe in. Learning can take place anywhere once you are willing to try. So teaching the cooking yesterday, they have their own setup, I have mine, and we moving around the camera and enjoying it. Did it not happen? Yes, it did. And we still sat down and had lunch and we discussed things and we laughed. So I could have focused on all the what ifs, who get burned with a pot, who didn't, nobody got hurt, because that wasn't even in my mind space. And I think when we focus again, and I can't say this enough, on what all the bad things that could happen, we miss the possibilities.
Very much so.
Right? So coming up with all these different methods and approaches, and when it didn't come from one place. I can't say it's because of the United States. I went to UE, and it is because of the programs I did in UE, in the School of Education, being exposed, and of course my own experience in different Alaska and in the States, Brooklyn, and fusing my own way of
Yeah.
doing
Your,
things.
your own unique
Yeah,
view. Yeah.
I come up with these things. I will add here as well. Sometimes people ask, and I suppose you may ask this, I probably will answer, jump the gun here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how I come up with certain things if I sit down and plan and all of that. And no, not all the time.
Right.
Sometimes I just go with it. Like, hey, I dream it. Or I figure, well, I think the children will enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And if they don't, hey, don't do it again.
Yeah. And I was, I was kind of like, I didn't want to come in and overtake the thing because I knew it was a class going on at the same time. It was meant to be loose. But maybe I've been in the space, and I was killing myself laughing because, the butter and all
Oh
that.
gosh, I'm so,
You know, it- but I really
some words, yeah.
I really appreciated that. And, a lot of times we we think that these unconventional approaches, the children would be suffering, the education would suffer. And you find your customer still, because it's a business, and the paying stakeholder, which should be the parent, I guess, or whoever the guardian is, might have in their mind, no, but this is school. School's supposed to be, you have to get them this. I guess the results will speak for itself because you still get the
I guess
results.
the results do speak for
Yeah.
themselves. Competitively,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I would have shaken the foundations of radically of what private schooling is. As a matter of fact, going into the fraternity in our own district,
Mm-hmm.
not only in the private but in the public. When I first started, I hate meetings. I have to say it. The tedium of the meetings really leaves me exasperated most times. Like, what was the point, and so on. Right, but when I do attend,
Mm-hmm.
it's always a shock. First of all, that I came. But when I first started to go, and one private school principal, the first time she dragged me to a meeting, she came in front of my school and picked me up, and Miss Reece, you can't be separate from everyone. I said, but I don't like everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in everyone. I know, I like I said, I'm very straightforward. Yeah, but you get to know the colleagues, and my question was, so why? Then what? Um, so I went to this meeting, and everybody
Yeah,
looking
they're
down, of
surprised,
course,
right?
surprised. That is the Miss Reece. Yes, that's a Miss Reece. Miss Reece, come and have coffee, come and have tea. I'm like, when is the meeting supposed to start? You all said it will start at 9,
Right.
and yet we are here shooting the breeze. I mean, did it start? Um, and like, no, relax, and you have all these discussions, and I actually pulled away from the private school principals association. I am still a member, of course,
Right.
but I started to gravitate towards more the fraternity of the public system.
Okay. Why was that?
And I have made great friends and colleagues in the formed great relationships with the public school teachers. Um, and so much so, learned from some of the old principals. And not because they're public, I couldn't learn.
Why you think it was you would have gravitated towards um, the public school principals as opposed to your own peers in the private school?
The principles I did gravitate toward, I think, is not only out of just profound respect for them, but because they are genuinely trying to make a difference in their schools. Um, they are definitely not looking at that as a business and herding cattle. You know, it's like, what is there to lose? Let's do this, let's do that. Working with so many different, in a private system, you see, you cultivate one culture. Parents come to the interview and they know this is the culture. In public schools, there's always that tug
Right.
to cultivate a culture, yes, to treat with all the idiosyncrasies of the public system and still smile when day comes.
Right.
I appreciate the struggle of the public school principal more than, and they have so much more to gripe about than in the private system. And yet, I know in our society, our educators are constantly under the wire in the public system.
Yes, it is. They are.
Right, but I always take time to remind people, most citizens are products of the public system.
Yeah.
And what are we saying?
That's what it is.
If it weren't for those teachers and those principals, would we be here?
But in terms of now, I'm trying to check a different spin.
Yeah,
You you
let me.
you are running a business,
I am.
right? And a big part of business is being relevant and competitive. So
Yes.
you also want to know that your product is standing up against the competition. You know, it could hold its own then, especially where it would have these big established private schools, Maria Regina's and Dewey.
Bishop Junior and
Bishop,
Don Ross and
right.
yeah, and the list does go on. The
Yeah,
list
yeah,
does go.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a big part of it, the prestige of you saying that you went to this particular school where they kind of would feed into other secondary schools. You know, so you trying to be competitive. Do you not consider that as important as well in terms of knowing what your competition doing? I'm using that term very loosely. I'm not trying to make it like a
Loosely,
war. Yeah.
actually, to be quite honest, Mr. Stafford, it's I try not to spend my days and nights thinking about what other schools doing. If I cared about them, then I would be like that. You know, and I'm not trying to be like that. I'm only trying to be who I am with my children behind my yellow gate, Athenian. They should try to be like me, if anything else. That is what I teach my children.
Right.
We are who we are, and we are the best. I tell them all the time they're the best children in the world, even when they're not the best children in the world. Because every day isn't a perfect day, of course,
True.
right? But I don't sit down and, oh God, that school doing this and that school doing this and why? Competition is competition, yes. I think some of them look at me more than I look at them. And, they try to figure out the way my mind works, I know. And I always say, if you try to do that, you'll probably go mad. Don't do it. I and all probably will go mad if I try to figure out how my own mind works. But, never do that. But simply do you and let me do me.
Yeah.
And again, you are being one of these stakeholders as a parent, you would realize that we have not fallen short.
No, that's why we're still there. I mean, I know we moved from looking for a kindergarten for Twee to, Twee is gonna be writing STA next year, and we stood this, I mean, it has been sometimes were easier than others because I mean it is a financial commitment as well. And yes, all my school fees are paid up to date, just in case you might be thinking I'm looking for a blind.
Nah.
No, but yes, and I know you would have had run-ins, I guess, with
Yes.
with your customer in terms of because your main focus, which I always acknowledge, no matter what, Miss Reece might be mad, she go buff you up thing, but she for the children 100%, and I think that has probably held you, in such highest.
But the thing is, especially in this time, I always thank my guardians and my parents and the stakeholders. It is not without saying that you all continue to support the chaos, the eye of the storm,
Right.
the eye of the storm. Perhaps Benitez Rojo was quite correct when he said we operate within a space of chaos, the chaos model. And at the center of it, the nucleus, is order. And even though I may seem chaotic, I am certain those who have been with me for years would know there's always a nucleus. There is always that point of order, which is what causes the system to run the way it runs. Yes, there's always a point of order and there's always a purpose to what I do. I may not always, of course, say what the purpose is, because in the interviews I say it all the time. You have to trust. You have to trust that, although, oh my God, in this moment, what is Miss Reece doing right now? Where she come up with this thing? Like, she's lie down and think about ways to stress parents out. No, but understand its purpose.
Right.
For example, when I say, let the children bring laptops from Standard 4, let's begin to understand the positive uses of technology. Or when I set up the Instagram discussion, where I wanted them to understand that social media can be used for different purposes rather than posting pictures and liking and disliking. But, what is it? Unliking? Oh gosh. I'm still...
It's
right.
just unlike, I don't know.
Right. But we can have a healthy discussion. We can have a huge conversation. Your voices can be heard here. And now look at where we are at in COVID, where platforms are being used to teach, where discussion is necessary in a virtual space. Yes, and it would have stemmed from the children transition easier, of course, than the parents, because they understood that technology is not only for gaming and gossiping but so much more I can learn. We can go on YouTube, and we would have taught them. We go on YouTube and we show them how to search for things and how to become avid learners and independent learners. Right? I showed a class some time ago, a 12-year-old boy who invented a watercraft, a ship. 12 years old. Right. It was on TED Talk, because I have them watch things on TED Talk and so on.
Right.
Came up with a ship to work with NASA and all of that. 12 years old. He came up with the idea when he was 8 or 9. Simply to clean the oceans from plastic, what he calls plastic death. And in his presentation, he was so eloquent and he explained his journey. 12 years old. And why not our own children? Why not our own children? Because we are stuck in our conventions. We are stuck in learning has to take place this way. And the classroom must operate in this way. And when you go to private schools, you must know all your accents. Because clearly when you speak Creole, you are not proving that you went to a private institution.
Oh, you have little or to no intelligence.
Yeah. And I'm saying, why? Why are we still stuck there? You know, certain things that bother people actually don't bother me at all. Boys with long hair. I really don't care. You know, once it's neat, do you.
Right.
If you feel to wear an earring at school, so what? Make sure it's not, of course, outlandish. This is still school. But be well groomed and be comfortable in your space. Yes, we have to teach them how to operate in a rule-governed space. A rule-governed space, because they have to go into society and understand laws.
And
you justify the rules. You justify, okay, we have rules not because they are always convenient, but to teach you how to operate within a space of social discipline. So that when you go into society, you will know how to follow laws. Laws are not there to make us happy all the time. But people who sat down and came up with these laws decided that they would make sense to keep everyone within a space of balance. So it's a delicate fusion, I guess, between naturalistic learning, learning as you go, and operating within order and rules, and, you know, always that delicate balance, I think.
Yeah, one of the things I would always comment on is the ability to maintain that community, that the culture of the school transcends, and it applies to the students, the ones who would have experienced it to the point where they would leave and still come back when you have bonfire nights and
And prom.
and prom, and they're so involved still. It's like they left yesterday. You understand? And so it continues. You would always find students still coming through to the school. How important for you is it to, I guess, no, I'm going to say how important because obviously it is, but how did you manage to cultivate this environment or this culture? Is it over years of experience or just your nature bringing people in? And
It is again a mixture of experience and nature. The word community seems to be a word we throw around a lot. But in essence, community is about loyalty, togetherness, patriotism. Letting the children understand that although every day isn't perfect, you're not going to like me every day. I tell them this. I don't like you every day because I'm honest. I say some days you'll upset me and I don't want to talk to you. Right? My children are very big on I love yous and apologies. They could teach people how to apologize. Right? That togetherness is something. So we foster that very early. Who are you? Who are you? You are Athenian. What does it mean to be Athenian? You plant that seed early. If we look at the first world countries, what do? They teach their citizens very early to be proud of who they are. Despite where you go in the world, you are this. You don't try to be like anybody else, but you are this. And this is home. Behind that yellow gate will always be home. Yes? And when we teach them that from babies, you know this. Who are we? We are the best. We are Athenians, burgundy and gold. Anywhere we go, we lead. Anywhere you go, people want to know and chant. We plan that very early. And as they grow, we tell them this is home. Again, yes, we are their teachers and their principal and whatever. But of course, I chat and I lime. I play cards with my big children when they come. Right? Actually, we teach them all fours. But after SCA, you can't leave school and not know how to play all fours.
right.
And chess and draft, why not learn it properly in school? How to make chow. We have boys' day. I go out and I cook with my boys. I cook and the fathers help out and we bathe by the river and whatever. This is part of community. Community isn't only agreeing, but also agreeing to disagree and working out the kinks as we go along. So yes, my big children come back. As a matter of fact, we teach some of them still. I still teach CSEC English and so on. So children who have graduated, they come in, and my brother still teaches math for high school. For children who we taught and moved on, they still believe in what we offer. Right? Some of them come back for help just for their SBAs.
Right.
Or for Cape Communication Studies, right? So we stay plugged in.
Yeah.
And they, in turn, they inform me, of what, things I need to pass on to the children who are getting ready to leave.
You mean inform you what? From a social aspect?
From a social aspect, Miss Reece, when they go into high school, let them expect this. When I went in Form 1, this is what I met in this particular institution, and this is how you get over that. This is how you handle this. And so we get more knowledge. I get more knowledge to pass on. So with each year, after SCA, especially the post-SCA period, we spend socializing them and getting them prepped for Form 1 and high school and what you're going to meet.
Yeah, I think
And yes, when my big children come back, the first thing they do, of course, is go to the kitchen to see what we cook. And, some of them so bold-faced, they call, I'm coming tomorrow to spend the day, or I'm coming this afternoon and so on. So don't forget to take out my food and whatever,
I think that's important, and that's so good to know, because as I always said, my the concern that I would have had is that transition from the school itself, which has done such a good job at nurturing these children, where they might get like a shell shocked in the real world, going out there and realizing, oh God, it's no miscarrying to hug me up and thing. And when I, you know what I mean? You know, to comfort me, you had to go and fend for
No
it.
microwave to warm your food
No
for free.
microwave, you had to go.
I had one of my girls, she's in Form 4 in SAGS right now. When she went in, the mother always laughs and she say, when she went into Form 1, and there's the rule you pay to microwave, and they are accustomed with hot food or cooked food every day.
Right.
She said, I am not paying so she had to suffer the sandwich war. She went on her own strike, of course. She eventually lost the battle because she couldn't eat sandwiches forever. But she was very adamant, and the mother said, well, it's not a lot, and
Right.
yes, but the principle. So they prefer we eat cold food. And they're waging her own protest.
Wow.
And these things make me laugh.
But you don't think they spoil any children with all this thing, Miss Reece?
With what, microwave food?
No, I mean, sometimes you would say, is it overprotecting? Is it over nurturing?
I think it's a good balance, because when I give them a good buff and thing, it balances off all the nurturing and all protection, because nobody could buff like me when I'm ready, right? So I think it's a give and take.
Right, I got you.
It's a give and take. Yes, I want to protect them because at the end of the day, they can't come. I still, you come to a private institution and you should be allowed. You have earned the right when you come to a private institution, certain luxuries and concessions.
Right.
You can't come to a private institution and have a public school experience, of course. So there's that. Again, it's always maintaining a delicate balance. I do not want to be so much like the traditional private school, but then I can't be like a public school.
I got you.
You take what is great in both realms, and you create a sandwich.
There you go. I want to find out. I want to find out from two things. Cause I'm watching the time now, and we've been, communicating for a nice little while. The 10-year-old Kezia Reece, all right, and the now experienced Kezia Reece. And you have this 10-year-old Kezia Reece in your classroom, and you are educating her. What are some of the things you would impart onto this younger version, and to prep her for things to face as she goes along?
Karma is something real, because my mouth was very hot. So work on that 10-year-old Reece. Right. Also, do not walk to school with your briefcase for, an encyclopedia, to challenge the teacher all the time.
Wow, is that good thing you start at school?
Yes, I was one of those pupils back in my day that would walk with the encyclopedia and the briefcase or things to say, well, according to if you look at this, and I know, and my brother was the same. So I would tell 10-year-old Reece, first of all, to not give up, ever. Do not attempt to be like anyone else. I did go through my own struggles in primary school because of the fact that when I was moved from first standard 1 to straight to standard 3. So being so young in standard 3, battling with the beasts, I think. And then my mother went to the States at that time.
Right.
I did go through a period of apprehension and became quite introverted, believe it or not.
Wow.
And I had to struggle out of that. I had to struggle out of that because, yes, imagine me introverted and quiet. That was the only time in my life, I think. I would tell 10-year-old me, don't give up and don't give into fear. Use fear. I think fear is a good thing.
Wow.
Many
I'm
people
very interested in hearing your point.
Yes. It is because of fear you persevere, if you look at it as a positive thing. And even failure. I think failure is learning. I don't think failure is failing. But it is a growth. And when we look at failure and fear as positives, we begin to see again, all the possibilities. Because if I weren't afraid, then I would not persevere. I wouldn't know my own strength. So I prefer to look at fear in that way. Rather than fear, run. Oh my God, be afraid and run. But be afraid and have courage, because without fear, there is no courage. How do you know you have courage if you are not afraid? How do you know what not to do if you didn't fail? Right? You have to fail. As someone famous once said, I think many people said it, but you have to break a couple eggs, eh? You got to break a couple eggs. So in all things, I would tell my 10-year-old self that be afraid, but persevere. Appreciate your fear. Appreciate your failures. And it's something I tell myself now. I try to be the best me for my children because, as I said very early in our discourse, the children taught me how to teach. And the children taught me how to deal with failure. Because in trying to teach them that it is okay to make a mistake, I learned that myself. That I cannot be always, perfect. I can't always be right. I will mistakes, and I have made mistakes. I have. But in trying to teach them that it's okay, I learned that it is okay. And I struggle with it. It's the same thing with my temper. I have a kind of temper. I say it's the Aries temper. And is trying to teach them self-control. I learned, oh my God, I have to have self-control.
You can't be
I can't blow up. I can't blow up because I don't want to let them down.
Right.
I don't want to let them down. I don't want to let my children feel like I have not practiced what I preached. In my darkest moments, and I think as we close off, I tell myself, what would I tell the children in this situation? What would I do? How would I handle it? It is okay for an educator to apologize to children and say, I do that buffet up yesterday, and maybe I'm sorry. Because I want you to become this, so I want you to make this choice, and you didn't, and I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I tell the children, sorry, if you're wrong, you're wrong. So yeah, I would tell 10-year-old me these things.
That's good.
Yeah.
And the last bit on
Right.
this is all our guests would have to give us an idea of what I call the playbook. Right? So the playbook is your step-by-step to achieving success in whatever realm you figure your success is. And we're not going to define success because it would obviously vary from individuals.
It's quite arbitrary, yes.
Exactly. So what would your playbook be from step one to step however to realizing your full potential or what it is you want to do?
But the first step is having a firm conviction, a firm belief, affirmation, if you want to say it, in what you hold dear, where your core is. Know where your passion comes from. Do not enter into your business or any endeavor thinking about profit first or gain. But first think about what you are offering, what you can offer, how you can make a difference. Whatever you are going to do, if it's a product, a tangible product, or something intangible, a service, how is this going to improve someone's life and their experience? Because if you think about gain, first you already lost. Gain will come eventually.
Right.
Thirdly, look at obstacles as ripples that will make you strong, as blocks. Build on those because those are strong. Do not look at failure as something negative, but cement for growth. To build upon your blocks of obstacles. Never see hurdles. And trust in your gut. Trust in your instinct. Trust in your vision. Because you cannot sell your vision or convince anyone else to believe in your vision if you don't believe in it. And that again comes from a place of passion. You have to love it. I think that was my playbook. go with the flow sometimes.
Hmm.
I'm a person of vibes, trust in your vibe. Sometimes it is the only thing that is correct.
That's 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 amazing. I really really appreciate that because I guess that would give you an insight to know, well, make it sitting outside a gate for 2.5 months. You know, it had to have something driving you to, to convict yourself to stay there. Miss Reese, I want to thank you so much, so much, taking this
Thank
time
you again.
to share with us. It went so well. It was insightful, and hopefully some one of your students might pick it up and be able to say, "Hey, is all that going on in Miss Reese?"
Oh gosh.
But
Well, I hope I if they do look at it, I hope I did them proud.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. You
The
know,
glass is always half full. Hey,
exactly. But we want to say again, thank you so much for taking the time. And, you know, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You would be out there going through the motion of life and being, bombarded with what might seem to be obstacles or fear, but persevere, have that passion and that drive and that tenacity, and who knows where life would take you, you know? So I want to say again, thanks to Kezia Reece of the Athenian Pre Secondary School for taking the time to share with us her first steps. Be blessed.
thank you. Bye.